angles, fakes one inbound, finds Hayward. He's got some room. He dribbles right, steps back from 20, and hits! Gordon Hayward!
Hey,
And they mob him!
and I tell you what, Gail Miller, the owner of the team, is probably covering her head over there to make sure that
Nobody can hear a word you said, Ron.
Well, I'll shut up then.
This is Gordon Hayward. We are ready to tip it off. Are you? Let's do this.
I figured we probably should just at least relive that every now and then. Like maybe a mandatory once a week Gordon Hayward, Trey Burke game winners. It is tip-off. Am I caffeinated and crazy again? We'll find out. Pow. Hope you're well. Thank you very much for taking the time to tune in. I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz. Jazz NBA Insider. We've got a show for you. It was an incredible, crazy, out of control, wild night in the NBA last night. We'll touch on that. I actually may just run through what happened in the NBA last night. Then we'll do some Jazz stuff, as I did plenty of work last night on that. And then, ladies and gentlemen, a brand new spreadsheet. A brand new geeky spreadsheet. How about that? I can't believe I didn't build it earlier, but I got caught in the idea last night, didn't quite finish it, finished it this morning. That's what we've got. Jazz are home Saturday against New Orleans. Anthony Davis, if you are an NBA fan, get out there and see that one. I know it's going to be snowy late Saturday night, but we should be fine for the ball game. Chicago on Monday is a pretty good one, and then the Clippers next Saturday. So tickets are available. Plus, if you missed this, which you may have, yesterday the Jazz announced some of their holiday ticket packages are available. These are always like stunningly good deals to me. From a business standpoint, I never quite understand how the Jazz do this. I find myself wondering a little bit, like, are you guys sure? So, for example, they'll give away fans gift cards for like more value than the tickets. The free throw special is 2 tickets to one Jazz game and a $10 fans gift card for $39. So I'm getting 2 tickets to a Jazz game for $29. And then there's the layup, which is 2 tickets to a Jazz game and a $20 Megaplex gift card for $49. Okay. And 2 tickets to 2 Jazz games and a $20 Megaplex card for $69. And 2 tickets to 3 Jazz games and $20 fans gift card for $79. Okay, and you're choosing between 7 games, and they're good. Andrew Wiggins, Minnesota. Atlanta, Paul Millsap, Kyle Korver. Indiana, Golden State, amazing. Oh my gosh, they're good. I'm prepping for them. It's crazy. Brooklyn, Boston, Memphis. All good games. So I don't know how they do it, but anyway, that's available. I want to make sure you were aware of that. How about we do? Here's the show today. I think I already told you. Never mind. I already told you. Let's do the NBA
This
5.
is Dartex, and welcome to tonight's edition of Jazz Basketball.
Oh.
Remember, it's all about spacing.
It's all about spacing, isn't it? Spacing the games. I really wanted to just get that spacing line in. I forgot it said Jazz Basketball. It's all about spacing, and and the reason it's all about spacing is so that they space the games far enough out so that geeks like me can go nuts last night. All right, so the first game, this was last night on League Pass. The first game is Indiana-Charlotte comes to a close. Okay, it's not a beautiful game. They're, 2 teams that can't score. Charlotte's offense, as I've talked about this whole time, is really terrible, and I'm admitting it. I'll admit it. I'm cherishing in the fact that their offense is terrible because it makes analytics seem good. Missed air ball by I don't remember who. Solomon Hill flips it up and in to win it for Indiana. Then you flip over to the San Antonio-Cleveland game, and San Antonio misses. LeBron had some beautiful plays late, or one beautiful play late. He had 1 field goal late. Then LeBron grabs the rebound with 9 seconds left and turns it over before he gets past half court. Weird. Cleveland goes to 5-5, and still doesn't feel quite right. Orlando played the Clippers earlier in the night. I was very interested to watch Elfrid Payton against Chris Paul to see if he got Dante Exumed. And he did a little bit, but he's out of the starting lineup. He's only playing 16 minutes. He just can't score. He had 7 rebounds and 5 assists last night in 16 minutes, but he just can't shoot. And I'll actually show you how bad it is coming up. And without my boy Aaron Gordon, I have to admit, watching Orlando is not nearly as much fun. Boston beats Philadelphia. I won't talk about them. Washington and Dallas go down to the wire, and Dirk does it again, but better. Washington gets Bradley Beal back, and Washington's defense, which is really good, held Dallas to 105 points and under 30 in 3 of the 4 quarters, which I've decided against Dallas is a success. Monte was terrific last night in that one, and they are closing games with J.J. Barea and somehow winning, which I'll never quite understand. Bradley Beal came back, loved it. He was terrific, 21 points. I think he's going to be a huge star, and that's why I love Washington this year. Then there's the insane Milwaukee-Brooklyn game where if you haven't seen it yet, you've got to make sure you see it. Brooklyn's got the ball, and they tie game, and they're looking for the last shot, and they throw a pass, which is maybe why they go ISO Joe all the time. Brandon Knight intercepts the pass, has the length of floor to win the ball game, has time, but he's rushing it and misses a layup, a fairly uncontested layup at the buzzer. He then buries a 3 at the end of the first overtime to force the second overtime, and Milwaukee wins in Brooklyn. A really good win for Milwaukee. Giannis Antetokounmpo was terrific. 18 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. He's just does so much. He was guarding Joe Johnson. He caused Joe Johnson a world of trouble. Milwaukee last year didn't try to win a single game, and they almost didn't win any. And Antetokounmpo got 25 minutes a night. He and Exum and their development is so very similar. And I think they'll be they're so skinny, they're so long, they're so inexperienced, they're so gifted, and you wonder if, Antetokounmpo played 48 night, plus he sprained an ankle in the game and stayed out there. He's a special kid. Dante's going to be a special kid too, and you wonder if the Jazz can get Dante to that 24, 25. Now, Dante's a little more cautious, and there's some other elements where maybe that's not the case, but it's worth knowing. Jabari finally busted out, 23.7 rebounds and assists, 2 steals. That's his best game of the year. Interesting to note, though, he's still -6. He's only one of 3 guys on their team who was minus last night. I don't know what that is. And why. I'll tell you what, here's a little player that's unsung that I found I liked a little bit last night. It was Chris Middleton. Keep an eye on that. And I thought Ilyasova looked decent again in that ball game. Brooklyn's just a weird mix. I actually like Bogdanovic and Teletovic a little bit. I like their 2 foreign players and how they complement everybody. I still find myself liking Brooklyn, but that's a bad loss. And that was an incredible game. Phoenix and Detroit went in the middle of that. Phoenix and Detroit went down to the wire. Beautiful drive by Eric Bledsoe late. Detroit kept battling back. Brandon Jennings missed a 3. They kept getting offensive rebounds, kicking out for 3s. That must have been heart-wrenching for Jeff Hornacek. But Phoenix goes to 7-5. They win their 88th game. And the West, by the way, continues to dominate the East. The West last night with another, Chuck Cooperstein tweeted it late last night, I think. The West last night, let me see if I can find. I tweeted so many times last night, I don't think I see it anymore. But anyway, the West completely was another 5-1 or something last night. It's just silly. Alex Len is becoming a major part for the Suns, by the way. He closed that game last night. The kids had a lot of homework, by the way, and I'm not good with homework, so I wasn't totally negligent. Then Toronto and Memphis play it was as good a night as the NBA as you could have. Toronto and Memphis went down the wire. I know I'm past my 5 minutes for NBA 5. And Kyle Lowry hit some big shots. Memphis ends up getting struck with the flu. They send 5 guys home on their own, and then they have everybody on the flight wearing surgical masks because some virus knocked out 5 of their guys. Tony Allen, Courtney Lee, Beno Udrich, all were out of it last night. They still battle to the end. I'm close to a buy-in on Toronto, complete buy-in on Toronto. There's only 2 things. There's really only one thing. I'm just not in love with DeMar DeRozan. He takes such inefficient shots. Someone's got to take him. I got it, but he's not even good at taking them. That is my holdback on Toronto. Otherwise, I would buy in 100%. I love their roster. They can match up to anyone, play anyone, any style. They're 9-2. Memphis 10. Minnesota blows out New York. New York is an unmitigated dumpster fire. Denver beats Oklahoma City. I didn't watch any of this. The only thing I know is that Oklahoma City is now 3-10, and then the Lakers, Swaggy P, beat an undermanned Houston team. What a night in the NBA! I just thought that we don't usually do that. We don't do the just game by game rundown like that. But that's what last night was. It was insane. So that is our NBA 5. Why don't we move to our Jazz stuff?
This is Jeremy Evans, and you are locked on Jazz.
Thanks, J.E. One of the good guys out there, Jeremy Evans. All right, so a bunch of things on the Jazz, and this has to do a little bit with the research I did last night, and some positive things. They continue to just be, and you can see the progression that's taking place with this team is that they're just a really smart team. They're taking 64.6% of their shots in the restricted area threes, smart shots, third highest in the league. Houston, who's off the charts, probably right, but off the charts, and Philadelphia, who's also a Houston disciple, off the charts and doing it without any concern of how they play. So Utah takes 64.6% of their shots in the restricted area or threes. If you're new to this, the concept there is points per shot. You can overdo it a little bit, but basically right now at this point of the season, it's 1.2 points per shot. If you're in the restricted area, it's 0.8 points per shot. If you're in the paint, non-restricted, mid-range, 0.8. Corners a 1.17, and above the break is 1.05. Corner three, here is the crazy part about the analytics of the NBA. Drive the right baseline toward the rim, defender comes to you, you're going to have a contested rim shot at the restricted area. You have a guy sitting in the corner for a three-pointer in the corner. You are better off passing the ball to the open three. The overall, a restricted area shot is 1.19. Corner three is 1.17. But in this case, I just set it up so that one's totally wide open. Right? Pretty crazy. And that's the right way to do it. It's going to take some time before the coaches want to go there. The Jazz are allowing the 7th fewest amount of smart shots defensively. And if you look at the other teams, Warriors, Bulls, Blazers, Pistons, Hornets, Wizards, Pacers, really good defensive teams. Really good defensive team. The Warriors are doing something crazy, by the way. The Warriors are only allowing their opponents 50% of their shots in smart areas. But those are some of the best defensive teams in the league. That seems to me to be the first crux of how you become a good defensive team. And it's this. I keep trying to get this across. This is going to take time. I tweeted out yesterday what our ranking is over the last, 10 games? Over the last 10 games, we are 5-5. Our offense, I think, is about 13th. Our defense is about 21st, and we're 17th overall. That's it, guys. That, in my opinion, is really what we're asking for this year. I don't think you can ask for more than that realistically. So over the last 10 games, we're 5-5. If we were a 500 team this year, you should go crazy. You should go bananas. I don't think we'll be a 500 team. But over the last 10, we're 5-5. It's pretty good. Okay? As of now, we're 12th offensively, 22nd offensively, 16th overall. Somebody emailed me and said, 22nd offensively doesn't seem like enough. Oh, whoa. From 30th defensively, or 29th, whatever we were, to 22nd, that's a big jump. And through all the research I've done, I've talked about on this program, I've done some more detailed. I don't want to bore you with all of it. It takes time. More often than not, if you're going to have a large defensive jump as a franchise, there are two things that are going to happen, and particularly if it's after a coaching change. One, after a coaching change, it's going to take time. More often than not, there's a slight improvement in year one, which would be if we go from 30th to 22nd, that's a slight improvement. Or 29th, I don't remember what we're, 29th or 30th. I suppressed it. To 22nd, that would be our slight improvement. And then you have the bigger jump the next year. And then secondly, there's usually a personnel change that really does it. Right? If you go look at Byron Scott's New Jersey Nets, they added Jason Kidd instead of Stephon Marbury. Boston changed, they added Kevin Garnett. Memphis picked up Tony Allen. You get better with personnel. An interesting one also, by the way, in a case study I've done, and I looked back at it this weekend, or last night. I did 9 case studies on teams that made dramatic improvements defensively. More often than not, what they did is had a personnel change. Or, interestingly, they started to foul more and force more turnovers. We're very low on both of those, which analytically I always say is a good thing. I can't figure out analytically why there's anything good there. But here's a thought on where the Jazz are in this regard. Right now, we're 28th in the NBA in turnovers, and we're 5th in the league in fouling. So we're 5th best at not fouling. But we're not forcing any turnovers. So if I put these 3 numbers together for you, that we're the 7th best team in the league at forcing good shots, we're 28th in the league in turnovers, and we're 5th fouling, the 5th lowest amount of fouling. To me, what we're doing is we're learning the defense, we're playing it, we're so cognizant of being in the right spot at the right time all the time that we have not figured out how to actually defend in it yet. And that comes eventually. But right now, by playing smart and forcing the right shots, we've gone from 30th to 22nd. That's my thought on where it is. Few other quick Jazz notes. By the way, we're allowing the 10th fewest amount of shots in the restricted area and the 8th lowest percentage of shots corner threes. So the only problem is we're letting them go in. But that's the next step. We're not defending them yet. We're forcing it all. We're just not all defending it. You really listen to this? You really listen to this geeky stuff and somehow think, hey, all the more power. I love you for it. I greatly appreciate it. I'm just listening to this. Is this interesting? Because I find it fascinating. I'm a total geek, though. Like, I'm NBA nerd. I'm like NBA Nerd Nation. Stanford's Nerd Nation. We need to build NBA Nerd Nation. Hashtag NBA Nerd. Right here, baby. We are now caffeinated and crazy. And we're also hashtag NBA crazy. Really cool, by the way. Google just changed something. If Tony, who's in the bottom of our little Google Hangout, sends me a little note in the middle of this, it pops up on my screen without me having it up, which is cool. That's, a little technology change they should have done a long time ago, but it's cool. All right. By the way, there's that Q&A thing on the bottom of the screen. If you're live, you can always ask a question if none of this makes sense. All right. A few other notes. I think this is really, and there are no questions in yet today. Really interesting. Alec Burks catch and shoot 3, 47% this year. Not a fluke. Last year was 41%. How many times do you see him corner 3, catch it, have a wide open look, not be sure what to do, and drive? This is incredibly difficult for Alec. Alec catches the ball and dribbles before he thinks about what he's going to do. The more he dribbles, the lower his shooting percentage goes. Alec has got to get ready, start catching with the intention of shooting. It's a development. That's all we're doing. It's development. But this is a little step that's going to change his game dramatically. He, right now, drives to the basket. He can't finish right now. We'll go through some of this. He's one of the worst rim finishers in the NBA right now. I know. Crazy. Makes no sense. True. He's I might have made someone's telling me there's no question button. I may have made a mistake today. I had to restart my system today, and so no, it says Q&A. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm about to double click myself, do some crazy things. I just hit a button. So anyway, someone's telling me they can't get the questions in. My bad. I'll check back on the screen if I can find it. It's all right. I got a bunch of geeky stuff anyway. We don't need questions. We'll have other stuff. So anyway, Alec, if you look at Alec, and I have to pull up my Jazz notes for the season. Last year, Alec at the rim. And my assumption here is this comes back around. He didn't lose athleticism. But last year he was 60% in the restricted area. This year he's 47.5. Put this in concept. Trey Burke is better this year in the restricted area than Alec Burks. How's that? That's a little surprising. Little disappointing on Trey, by the way. Earlier this year he was up at 59% in the restricted area. I was all excited, thought he'd learn that. He's right back down to 49%. I was all excited that he was better inside 10 feet than he was a year ago. He's really working on this float. He's been working really hard with Johnny Bryant on it. He's back under last year's 45% inside 10 feet. So a little disappointing there on Trey. Was hoping. But, he's working on that floater hard. It's going to take some time. You can actually see him, because I saw him working, you could see him thinking during the game the other night. And I'll bet he picks that up and it develops it because he's a hard worker. All right, do I have any other notes before we geek out? I should get some big voice guy that does NBA nerd, hashtag NBA nerd. Coffee is kicking in again. All right, let's do a little screen share here. Here we go. All right, so this spreadsheet you may have seen before. This is the spreadsheet that I kind of just referenced a little bit about smart shots for teams. And here you can see the Utah Jazz, and you run it over, and here are the best defenses that are forcing the most amount of shots. So 51, the Warriors are allowing only 51.2 shots in the good areas, smart areas. I probably should stay consistent with my, we used to call them money shots, and then somebody out there got offended, thought that there was something, I don't know, sexual in nature, I guess. Ew. Can't have that. Can't have innuendo. The Bulls, Portland, those are the teams I was talking about. And then you actually, on this sheet, what's kind of fun is you can come run over here and see where you're allowing specific shots. So, for example, as I was saying, if we go to the restricted area, the Utah Jazz are allowing 10th fewest amount of shots in restricted area. The Warriors are only allowing 26% of shots in restricted area. The Wizards 28, Charlotte 29, Detroit 29. That's because they're big guys. DeAndre Jordan, the Clippers 30. Cleveland, actually interesting, is not allowing shots in restricted area. Dallas, Sacramento, Atlanta, and the Jazz. And the teams that are elite here that have much lower numbers have these big guys in the middle. Here's an interesting note on this restricted area, and I'm going to read a text that I sent to someone last night, because that's I have some data in it, so that's why I'm looking at my phone. You can't see that I'm looking at my phone. I'm looking at my phone right now. So I sent a text last night to somebody. We'll leave out whom. It doesn't matter. Here we go. So we're allowing the 10th fewest shots in the restricted area, but we're also 8th worst in points off turnovers, in 2nd worst in second chance points. So on the pure half court stuff, when we get into a half court and we actually just defend it, we might be pretty good. I mean, or at least all right. So I think that's, again, I think that's a positive sign. All right. So I do all this stuff. I've always done this. Here's the one thing I think somewhat interesting kind of number on this, and this tells you how. All right, so the first concept of what we had was that how teams are defending. Now, over here is amount of points a team is allowed, how many points they should have allowed, and if you're minus, then you're playing the best defense. And what freeze panes. Freeze first column. Okay. So here we go. These are the teams playing the best defense. In other words, Houston defensively right now, teams should have scored 887 points against them if they shot average, and they've only scored 810 for minus 77. So that overall for the season, I do not have the capability here to do per game. So where do we fit on this? Here we are, down below. We're allowing, in all the games we've played, it's not so bad if you think we've played a few more games here, but we're supposed to have allowed 979 points based on our defense, and we've allowed 1,020. So we're at 40.3. Minnesota is by far the worst. The Lakers are putting out to me, somewhat, this is like actually defending. Do your guys actually defend? Right now what I'm saying is the system's pretty, to me, here's the two different numbers that we're playing around with. And I'm sure somebody who knows basketball differently can fiddle with me on these two things here. But here's the first number. This first number to me is, okay, R is percentage of smart shots allowed. This is your system good? The Warriors, Ron Adams is known as the second best defensive coach in the league behind Tom Thibodeau. All right, well, there they are at the top. Portland has played a very good defensive system. They didn't defend last year. This year they're actually defending. Van Gundy's Detroit system, they got the big guys. Steve Clifford's known as a fabulous head coach. Randy Whitman, I'm on this, been preaching this for a long time. And Frank Vogel. Okay, look at that. These are the best defensive coaches in the NBA. This is what their teams do. And here are the Utah Jazz. All right, so systematically, we're great. Now, let's go to the next level. Do our guys actually defend? Well, right now, Houston's guys defend. Oklahoma City's guys are defending. Portland's guys are defending. The Warriors are defending. The Spurs defend. The Bulls defend. On the bottom end, Minnesota is not defending at all under Flip Saunders. They're young. Lakers aren't defending. Cavaliers aren't defending. Knicks aren't defending. Okay, we knew these things. Atlanta's not defending. Boston and Utah. This is the way I view this. First one is systematic. Bingo. Second one, are you actually executing? No, we're not right now. That's obvious. But you start putting a lot of these. Boy, I would actually rather have the first one for right now. Because to some extent, if you're there's a level of how far this can actually go is kind of also what you're seeing. If the Rockets have played 12 games, they're defending 5 points a game. Yes, all of these spreadsheets would be better if I could bring in another feature that had everybody's games. All right, so that's spreadsheet number 1 of the day. Now, let's get to, wait a sec, you don't need that stuff. Where's stop sharing? Now let's get to number 2, player shot location. This could take some time and be kind of fun. And for those of you that are on audio, I hope that we're making some sense out of everything. All right. Something's funky here because it didn't save some of my colors. So give me 1 second here, and I need to install some colors. So it'll make it easier for you to look at. I'm a little nervous that something went wrong. I had to reset the computer right before we started, so I'm wondering if there's a chance something's gonna bust up here, but I don't think so. I think I have all. Looks like I have all the data. Looks like we have 450 players here. Looks like, oh, it might just be that I'm doing some funny transitions from one side to the other. All right. So let's screen share this latest one for you. This, I know this is small. I don't think I can make it much bigger. Oh, actually, I think I can. Because if I do a few things here. All right. This is the same concept of what we just did, but it's completely player-based. So, and we can look at a few different things here, which I think are kind of fun, and we will do that. Give me 1 second so you can. All right, now this is where every player shoots from in the NBA. So we'll start off with the concept of who takes the smartest shots in the NBA. Same kind of concept of what we're going to do here. And if you kind of logically deduce this in a second, you're probably going to come up with who takes the smartest shots. If you think about restricted area or threes, it's not Kyle Korver. And I have to put some filters on this for a second. And let's say we've played, someone's got to take 4 shots a game. So let's have 40 shot attempts get you in this. DeAndre Jordan, 71% of his shots are smart. Okay, makes sense. Tyson Chandler, Brandon Wright, Omer Ashik, Ed Davis, Alex Len. There you go. Trevor Booker comes in here. Kind of get that. This isn't that surprising. Now, the next angle is average points per shot. So if everybody in the league, oh, by the way, this is actually kind of fun. Who takes the worst shots in the NBA? Jason Smith, only to have the Knicks, only takes 3.4% of his shots in smart areas. Robert Sacre. Mo Williams is only taking 7.8% of his shots in smart areas. Kevin Garnett, 9. Ben Gordon, Evan Turner, Luke Ridenour, C.J. Miles, Roy Hibbert, Austin Day, and LaMarcus Aldridge is in here. LaMarcus Aldridge, and here's DeMar DeRozan. And Kobe falls in here, John Wall, some other players that, they really have to deal with this to be good. Now, let's take the next thing. Average points per shot. If every player were equally the same shooter in the league, who would get the most points per shot? Still the bigs. Omer Asik, DeAndre Jordan, Tyson Chandler. The bigs would still be right. That makes sense. They're taking the most restricted area shots. They're worth the highest value. They take their shots. Okay. Trevor Ariza kind of is our first mainstay wing player that jumps in here somewhere in the mix of all this. Now it gets interesting. If it's not already, if you haven't already fallen asleep and left us for this entire conversation, now it gets interesting because now we get into who's actually the best shooter in the game. Or who's taking the small. Now let's go to average points per shot, not just where the shot. So this would count your threes is better. And now Brandon Wright, DeAndre Jordan, Pablo Prigioni pops up, Tyson Chandler, Courtney Lee takes smarter shots, Kyle Korver, Kelly Olynyk, who's having a great year, Harrison Barnes, Aaron Gordon, the rookie, Channing Frye, Alex Len, just kind of run down this list, Amari Carroll. There's Derek Favors flying in here, Steph Curry. Now let's find out who the best shooter is. So these are the guys you take their average points per shot based on where they shot it from, what they're actually delivering, and how much higher they deliver than average. So Brandon Wright, Pablo Prigioni, Courtney Lee, Kyle Korver, Maurice Spates for the Warriors, interesting, Dirk Nowitzki, Sean Williams, DeAndre Jordan, Kevin Seraphin, Harrison Barnes, Channing Frye, Otto Porter, interesting, Tyson Chandler, Kevin Martin, Kelly Olynyk, Aaron Gordon. Okay, those are the guys that are shooting the best, above what the league average would do with the same shots. I have not done this. This is the first time I have done this. Let's flip it. C.J. Miles is the worst shooter in the NBA this year. Elfrid Payton, Austin Day, Quincy Pondexter, who I keep talking about, such a great addition for Memphis, has been terrible. Ronnie Price, Thabo Sefolosha, Mason Plumlee, Andre Drummond, Danilo Gallinari, Chris Johnson, Victor Oladipo. Look at that. Elfrid Payton and Victor Oladipo. Tyreek Evans. How long till we find a Jazz guy? Trey Burke pops in here as one of the least good shooters so far this year. We knew that. Anybody else? Any other Jazz players? But here's the list coming the other way. James Harden flies in there surprisingly below league average, but he goes to the free throw line so much it's all right. This is interesting. No other Jazz player showing up right now at using his shooting below average of what he's done, of where he's taking shots. So as we take smarter and smarter shots and move into being the third smartest team shooting, see Jabari there is right about the league average, a little less. All of a sudden, you can understand why we might have a pretty good offensive team. That's kind of cool. Didn't know that. Flip this back around. Let's see when Jazz players show up on the good end of things. And Derek Favors shows up early here as one of the players who is better than league average. I'll actually show you here in a second. Here's Dante Exum. He is above league average in points per shot. Gordon Hayward above league average at 0.07 points per shot. He's getting 0.07 more points than the average player in the league does every time he shoots. It's pretty good. Favors is 1.18 points per shot better than league average. Anthony Davis is 0.17. Put Favors right in the same category. I don't know if I hope that this is all kind of new. This is new terminology that most people aren't using. I hope it makes some sense. So there's kind of the new work that I did today. I think is kind of cool. I'm not quite sure. It's interesting because I've always thought Brandon Wright's very, very good and deserves more credit. But if you look at Brandon Wright, it's pretty incredible. His average points per shot is 1.08. He's getting 1.52. That's a skill. That's an underrated player right there. Now, let's have some fun for a second. We're only using people that are taking 40 shots so far this year on this. let's just take a quick look at who's best and worst in the NBA at each position, at each spot on the floor. Okay. And there's some other filters I could run through this, but I think we're just going to keep the filter that these guys have to shoot a little. There'll be some problems here, but all right. So most shots in the restricted area in the NBA so far this year: Tony Roten, DeMarcus Cousins, Tyreek Evans, Dwight Howard, Anthony Davis, Zach Randolph, Greg Monroe, Tobias Harris, LeBron James, Andre Drummond, Nikolai Vukovic, Al Jefferson, and Derek Favors. Look at Favors' shooting percentage. 79% in the restricted area. How good is that? Guys have actually taken shots, take over 20. Brandon Wright's best at 85.4. I had 50 was my thing I used here. Boran Bogdanovic is actually pretty good at 85. Gortat at 81. Spates at 81, and there's Favors. So guys have taken at least 50. Favors is number one in the NBA. Restricted area. Pretty nice. Who's the worst? Come on, admit it. You rather find out who the worst is than the best. These guys haven't taken very many. Korver, Mo Williams, Anthony Morrow, A.J. Price, Danilo Gallinari, Brian Roberts, Ben Gordon. Elfrid Payton, a little concerning there. 16 of 47, 34%. In the paint, you add the 3 for 14 for Elfrid Payton, and Elfrid Payton is 19 of 61 in the paint this year. Rubio was never good in here. Oladipo flies into here early. And this is where, if I ran a little filter and suddenly took 40 shots, here's what will surprise you. Chris Bosh has not been good in and around the rim. And Alec Burks, 19 of 40 so far this year, 47%. Very uncharacteristic. Kevin Love, surprisingly, here. Here's Trey Burke. All right, let's just do the last little bit really quickly. Dante Exum has not missed at the rim yet this year because he doesn't shoot unless it's a dunk. One day he'll start driving. All right, let's go for quickly. Who takes the most little mid-range? I'm guessing Al Jefferson. It is Al Jefferson, Marcus Toll, Joe Johnson, Josh Smith, Nikola Vukovic, Rudy Gay. Little floaters in the lane. It's not a good shot. It's a very fundamentally bad. It's a very statistically bad shot. Who are the best at it? This one actually might need a filter. Let's say you've got to have taken 20 shots in this area. And Dwayne Wade is the best, followed by Reggie Jackson, Jeff Green, Anthony Davis, Andrew Bogut, Robin Lopez, Darren Williams shows he's healthy. Al, these are all, you're over 50%. These become a good shot. If you can shoot over 50%, that's a good shot for you. Remember, league average is about a point per shot, and it's most of it to the free throw line. So if you're in an area where you're over 48%, that becomes a good shot for you. That becomes a good shot for Al Jefferson at 53%. Worst in the league that are actually taking him: Tyreek Evans, Evan Fournier, Paul Millsap, Kobe, Kawhi Leonard, interestingly, Marcin Gortat, and I don't see any. And Gordon Hayward flies in up top here, 7 of 20 in that area. Go to the rack all the way, G-Time. Who are the best main shooters in the NBA? Let me clear this filter. Who's taking the most mid-range shots? My guess would be Kobe Bryant, maybe LaMarcus Aldridge. Kobe Bryant, Carmelo Anthony, LaMarcus Aldridge. Here's my problem with DeMar DeRozan. 93 mid-range shots at 36%. They're not great shots. These 40% shots are not great, but they're not totally terrible in the sense they're above the league average of that shot, and you're going to have to take some of those in the league. So that's Kobe, Carmelo, Aldridge are all at 43. Blake Griffin has taken the 6th most amount of mid-range jumpers in the NBA. He's only hitting 38%. Chris Bosh is only at 42. Here's a good old Jason Smith. The guys who've taken the least amount of mid-range shots have taken not very many shots. That's bad. So let's put another filter on this. Let's put 40. Let's say you've taken at least 40 of these, meaning you're taking about 2 or 3 a game. That might be too big a filter. Let's put 20 down, taking 2 a game. And who is the best mid-range shooter in the NBA? Luke Ridnour, Ersan Ilyasova, Otto Porter, Maurice Spates, Brandon Bass, Chris Paul, Gordon Hayward, Enes Kanter, 57% on mid-range jumpers. Dirk Nowitzki, Al Horford, A.J. Price, Paul Millsap, Courtney Lee, Nikolai Vukovic, Darren Williams, Avery Bradley. Now, for all these guys who are over 50%, these are good shots. Jason Smith actually comes in there. Who are the worst mid-range shooters? Evan Fournier, Lance Stevenson, Donald Sloan, Brandon Jennings, Klay Thompson, Interesting. Eric Bledsoe, Reggie Jackson, Carl Landry, Gerald Green, James Harden, Damian Lillard, Trey Burke, LeBron James. Pretty interesting. So anyway, that's kind of it. I don't want to bore you anymore with any of this. I guess it's your choice to whether you stay with it. So I guess I'll clear that filter and quickly do corner three shooters. Trevor Ariza would be my guess for most. Is it bad that I can guess who these guys are off the top of my head? Trevor Ariza should. Oh, I'm wrong. I wonder if Trevor Ariza hasn't played enough games. I wonder if I have another filter that's eliminating Trevor Ariza when I went to a certain amount of shots a game. Because Trevor Ariza has taken the most threes, but he hasn't played enough games, so maybe he hasn't taken enough shots all year. I don't know. But here are the Aaron Aflalo, Wesley Matthews, Kevin Love, and we'll just do a quick sort on best corner three shooters. Andrew Wiggins hasn't missed, but of guys who've taken it, Kyle Korver's 10 of 15, Lou Deng's 8 of 13, Dunleavy, Heinrich 6 of 10, Courtney Lee 7 of 12, Tobias Harris 7 of 12. And I just lost something here. Oh, I just cleared all filters. And our final one, who's taking the most above the break threes so far this year. I've bored myself to death. I don't know how you're still listening. Maybe you aren't. Kobe Bryant is taking the most above the break threes. James Harden, Damian Lillard, Steph Curry, Ryan Anderson. It's interesting. Kobe 26%, Harden 28%. Those are not mathematically good shots at that point. Steph Curry's 39, Damian Lillard's 44, Ryan Anderson's 40%. Those are good shots. Wesley Matthews' 31 is only an okay shot. Channing Frye's 48 is pretty awesome. Gordon Hayward's taken a lot at 32.7%. That's not great. Trey Burke's 26%. He's taken 49. That's a lot. That's not great either. But it's a smart shot. It's the right way to play it. So there we go. That's your latest geekdom. I don't know if you like that. I wore myself out on it. I hope you kind of liked it to some extent somewhere along the way and thought it was worth it. The takeaway is that we're heading in the right direction. That I think that I think that a lot of our stuff is we're doing a lot of stuff really well, and I think it's heading in the right direction. It's going to take time in the process, and these are the first steps of the process. All right, have a good one. Thank you very much for tuning in. This has been today's edition. See, the only problem now is when Tony leaves me a little note, it distracts me. Tony said he definitely loved it. He liked the defensive spreadsheet the best. All right. See you guys.